Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's live info session on the Unit Clerk Certification at Ashton College. My name is Pamela, and I'm part of the marketing team here. I'll be your host for today's session. I'm pleased to be joined by Tina Toal today, one of our instructors for the Unit Clerk program. In this session, we'll get to know more about Tina's professional background and teaching experience, explore the program structure and highlights, discuss the skill you gain, and review the career opportunity available after graduation. Feel free to submit your questions at any time using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We'll address as many as we can during the Q&A portion towards the end of the session. If you'd like more information about the program, how to apply, or Ashton College in general, you'll find helpful links in the resources section or in the YouTube video description if you're watching from YouTube. So let's get started. Hey, Tina, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Can you give us a short breakdown of the unit clerk field and what it involves in the healthcare setting?
So the health unit clerk, there's a few names that it goes by: unit clerk, ward clerk, health unit coordinator. It's all the same position. So the unit clerk is the hub of the unit. So when I try to explain to people, because a lot of people have never heard of it and want to know more, it's when you go to the hospital unit and you walk onto the floor and you're visiting family or friends, you see the person at the desk at the unit. That is the unit clerk. So they're the hub of the unit, as we say, and they're wayfinding, greeting patients, visitors, processing physician orders, answering the phones, helping the nurses, helping the physicians, all the allied health members of the hospital. They're the go-to, definitely needed and very, very welcomed. Everybody always is happy when the unit clerk is there, and that would be nurses and doctors. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it feels nice to put a face on someone when you're in that kind of stress, when someone you care about is in the hospital and all of that. Um, so yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your career, educational background, and why you chose to work in this field?
Sure. Yeah, I started in 1998. I looked into the program. I actually had a family member that was a nurse and recommended the program to me. So I took the unit clerk program then, and I was hired pretty much right away after I finished my program. And I started working at BC Cancer, and I still work for BC Cancer. So I've been working there for, well, since 98. So what is that, 28 years almost. So it's a great career. It served me well. I loved being a unit clerk. I think the best part of it was seeing how I helped people. And you do have a role in that when you're a unit clerk. You're processing the orders, and orders would be anything that is to happen to the patient. So, whether they're eating, able to walk, any tests, any diagnostics, anything like that that needs to be done, it's an order, and the unit clerk is what makes it happen. So it's definitely a rewarding career. I got into supervising. So I was in charge of unit clerks and secretaries for many years. And I love doing that. I love mentoring. I love teaching. I love sharing my experience and helping others, seeing each other succeed in their field. Um, it was rewarding. And then I started getting to teaching. And I had a director at BC Cancer who was very pro education. And he allowed me out of my full-time job to teach one day at a local college. So that's how I got into it. And I'd say the last 10 years, I've been focusing more on teaching, and I love teaching. And it's almost like when I was supervising in that leader type role, being able to share and see people grow and help them. And that's the same as teaching, right? My students, I get to see them come in with no experience and share my experience, share what I've done, and be able to give that real world type knowledge to them, and they appreciate it, and it's great. So my career has been pretty awesome. Yeah.
That honestly sounds super rewarding and super impressive. Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. Can you walk us through the Unit Clerk Certificate program here at Ashton? And can you tell us a bit of what students can expect to learn during the program?
Yeah, Ashton College has a great program for the unit clerk field. It's for the career. It's I like it because, and I think it's really great because it has choices. So you can come in on the live sessions, or you if you're too busy and you have responsibilities like work or family, then you're able to watch the recordings. So there's a lot of learning options for our program at Ashton, which is great because, as we know, it's very busy. Everybody has a job or families and lots of responsibilities. So I think it's wonderful that way. And you will get experience in all the different components of the program. So for instance, medical terminology, or processing orders, surgical orders, medication orders, nursing orders. So you get that experience throughout the program.
Yeah, definitely. I heard a lot from students that the flexibility of the program is a thing that they valued a lot because they, like you mentioned, they can either study or work or juggle multiple things at once. Yeah. What is your favorite part of the program, and what do you think students will benefit the most from it?
My favorite part is when we actually start processing orders and learning about the order processing. I think that is the bulk of the job itself. So, and that was my favorite part of the job when I was actively doing it. So, I think that would be the favorite part. I love seeing, it doesn't matter which course I'm teaching, because you may have me or you may have someone else for a course. So instructors teach different courses in the program. And so every course that I have an opportunity to teach, I love just building the connection. I love getting to know you, right? You're my student for so many weeks, and my job is to be a resource for you and to make sure that you get the support and you get the opportunities of learning. And I think that's my favorite part, is like learning um, who you are and building a relationship with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like feeling comfortable with, well, you with your student and the students with you
Yeah.
can definitely make a better journey for everyone.
Mhm.
Um, how would you describe your teaching style and approach in the classroom?
Supportive definitely is the key word for my approach. Like I said, I like to take time to build connection and relationships and to build that trust with the student. It's, some people are coming back into education, they might be a mature student, and it's overwhelming, it's scary, and it's brave to take a program again. And it's not just mature, but it's out of high school too. So you have the young student and you have the mature student, and then you have somewhere in between. But I think the point is that sometimes it's nerve-wracking to join a program and commit to it, and you're nervous. So for me, it's making sure that I can support you the best I can, alleviate some of the anxiety that comes in, and to know that I care, and I will do my best to help you be successful in your program.
Yeah, I can tell a lot that you care and that's even like contagious at some point. Um, yeah, I guess everyone learns at their own rhythm, and they like everyone has their own way to learn, I guess. Um, what are your expectations of students in this program, and how much study time should they plan and dedicate each week to be successful?
I would say expectations would be to commit. I I have a hard time supporting people that aren't committed because they're not there. So for me to do my job, they need to do theirs, which is commit. Just commit to the program. Just show up, watch the recordings, do the work needed, required, and that's really all I expect. The rest will come, right? I think once you show up and you're willing, you can learn anything. So that would be it. I think the commitment is above and beyond the program itself, the recordings and the live sessions. I would say 4 to 6 hours a week of studying on top of that. It varies, obviously, week to week or depending on what course it is. But I would say that would be a safe bet of committing to.
Um, what are some career opportunities or typical next steps for students after completing the program?
Yeah, you can apply for any job that says Unit Clerk Certification. And it gets a bit tricky. I do explain this when I meet students in any of my courses about how it works in BC in particular. And we have health authorities. And health authorities, we have all the hospitals underneath each umbrella of a health authority. And how do you get a job? I explain all this to them and all the different types of positions out there because they vary. There's not just unit clerk, there's booking clerk, there's a registration clerk. There's a bunch of different titles to positions that we can actually apply to. So you really have to share this with your students so they're aware when they do complete their program, they can find a job because that's what you want for them. So I would say anything with a unit clerk in it. So if you wanted to work at BC Cancer, for instance, that's where I have my most of my career with, you could work in the ambulatory care unit and you could be working with a team. It would be about 4 to 6 physicians, depending on the clinic size. And you would be sitting there and you would be processing orders, making appointments for patients and their tests and their diagnostics and their treatment plan. You may be at the front desk, you may be registering patients, you may be showing them where they need to go or what forms they need. There's a lots of different roles that students can have once they complete our program. They can also work in an inpatient unit, work on a maternity ward, or work in ICU. They could, if they're really brave, they could go to emergency and work there. So there's a lot of opportunities for unit clerks, and I love it because there's a lot of different units out there. So there's a lot of variety and all the different units have a different service. So if you're interested in pediatrics, like kids, if you're like maternity, right? It's all what you're interested in. Some people like to go to extended care and work in a unit like that. And that's where people, they stay there because their treatment is extended. So I don't know. I feel like there's so much variety that it's really great career to get into, and it's definitely a need. I've been in the industry a long time and I've worked in a lot of different facilities, health authorities, and you know what? There's always a huge need for unit clerks in the industry.
And it is so nice to hear that the jobs are available. And yeah, just as you mentioned, um, yeah, it's a very well, I don't do that, but from you, we can see that it's a very rewarding career.
Yeah.
Um, so Tina, in your opinion, what are the most essential skills or qualities needed to succeed as a unit clerk? Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about this when I first meet students too, because a lot of them don't have prior healthcare experience. So they're always concerned that, will I get a job? Because a lot of the postings you see say 1 year recent related experience. And because there is such a demand, we don't worry about that. Like as a hiring manager, which I did for years, we hire new grads all the time. So experience, skill set coming into the program, you probably already have because you've probably already worked a job that involves customer service, for example. So if you worked retail or if you worked in a restaurant, or an office, anything really, you would have been dealing with the public. So customer service skills you would probably already have. Well, that already involves communication skills, right? So communication skills is something you already have. That's something that as a unit clerk is number one, right? So I think that would be the biggest skill. Critical thinking, definitely. You know what? We all do that every day in life. So it's just thinking about the experiences we have, following procedure, policy, next steps, thinking out of the box. That's critical thinking. The other thing that is needed is being able to prioritize. So prioritizing workload is very important for a unit clerk, knowing what order to do first, what call to take first, what person to answer to first, because there's many things happening at once on the unit. You already do that in life probably too, right? We prioritize our life, we prioritize our family, our needs. So all these skills we already have. It's just that we're switching it into healthcare. And when I remind students that, they already have a base, it makes them feel more confident. And they just know that they just need the healthcare experience to build on those skills that they already have.
That's great to know. Yeah, definitely, like you mentioned, being able to help a customer um, goes a long way. And that's like a transferable skill, very useful for a lot of careers. Um, what does a typical day in the life of a unit clerk looks like in a hospital or a clinic setting? Like you wake up and then what happened?
You wake up and hopefully you had a good sleep. And you
Always
get ready.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, you get ready. If you're working in a unit, on an inpatient unit, for instance, a surgical ward at Langley Hospital, say, you would be wearing a uniform. So you would put on your scrubs usually and your runners, and you would make sure that you have all, you packed a lunch, you got your water, you've got your resource manual, your notes. Anytime you're on a unit or you're being trained, you have your own book that you keep all your notes in. So you're making sure that you're, fully ready. And then you arrive to the hospital and you realize that there's no parking. So, but you planned ahead and you are half an hour early just to find parking. So these are the realities of coming into a hospital job. And unfortunately, we have no control over parking. So we have to make sure that we account for it. You account for traffic too. So you are making sure that you're prepared in that way. You don't want to be rushed or stressed going into your shift, and you want to be calm and you want to have time. So you arrive 15 minutes early, you go and put your stuff in the break room, the locker, in the fridge, and then you arrive and sometimes there's another unit clerk there waiting to go home, and sometimes there's no one there because we usually don't have unit clerks overnight. So, but we always have a communication book. So you may be getting report from a unit clerk saying, this person's going, this person left, this person's transferring, I'm expecting orders from this patient or this doctor. So you're getting a little bit of report of the rundown of who's on the unit, what's happening, and what you need to know. If there's no one there and you're relying on the communication book, you're hopefully the last person who worked would be giving you a heads up about whatever we need to know. So that would be the first thing to do, and sign in. You'd be signing in for your shift and finding out who's in charge, who's the charge nurse, asking who that is, introducing yourself if you've never met them. You're a casual employee usually when you first get a job, so you may not know. You may not know everybody because you don't work there every day. So you introduce yourself to the charge nurse, the CEE, CNL. They all have these different um, abbreviations now of their title. Basically, whoever's in charge, and it's always a nurse. Find out who the doctor is, the hospitalist for that week. When they come on, do their rounds around 8 to 9. They come and do their rounds, see everybody, see all the patients, write their orders. So you're getting settled in, and you're making sure you get your bearings of who's there and what's happening. And then you start looking for the orders. So you're looking in either on the EMR, because everything is electronic now, or if we're still manual, which is paper-based, you would be looking in a chart rack. So it depends on the facility. Most facilities now are electronic EMR. So you'd be logging into the computer right away and bringing up your list of your unit and make sure that you have everything available and getting ready for your task list, which would be direction of orders for patients. That's sort of the start of your shift. And then you just carry on with the duties. Depending on your shift, you probably be working 8 to 4, 7 to 3, depending. It's all different everywhere. And it's basically just waiting for the work. If there's no work coming, then you're stocking, you're cleaning up, you're organizing, you're doing whatever you need to do to keep busy. Then you take your break. Usually it's 2:15s and a half hour. And they always have a break room. Make sure you take your break. Make sure you don't stay at your desk. I find a lot of people do that, and that's not good. Get up, move around, and like I said, introduce yourself to people throughout the day. And, make sure you complete your orders, write things down. When the phone rings, make sure you have a pen and paper in hand. I think that's a big thing that people forget. They think, oh, I'll remember. You won't remember. You'll get interrupted and you'll forget. So I think that pretty much runs a day. You might have patients coming up to you asking you questions. You may have visitors coming in looking for patients. The phone will be ringing. It could be anybody, it could be family, it could be a doctor's office, it could be somebody in the hospital. So you're talking to different departments throughout the day, the lab, x-ray, pharmacy. So you really feel like you belong and you're part of something. And I think that's what's great about the unit clerk.
Honestly, that sounded super fascinating. My next question it was, what advice would you give to students who are new in the healthcare field and considering this career path? Well, you already talked a little bit about, the program and what happens after. But yeah, if you could, just say or something that would, I guess function as an advice for anyone who's listening and they're interested in healthcare and they're new at it, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I think if you are interested in a career in healthcare, you're already somebody who cares. So I always think that for people that want to get in, this is a great sort of stepping stone as well. Some people know all about unit clerks and they know because their mom's one or their aunt was one or somebody was a unit clerk and they told them they knew about it and they know exactly what they're getting into. And for some people, it's like, oh, I just sort of come across this. I've never heard of a unit clerk. So do your research. That's one thing I suggest. Do your research. Research what a unit clerk is, the history of it. There's actually a really cool historical story of how unit clerks came about. So it's something that I wouldn't just not research. I think definitely research it, know all about it, contact the school, find out what the program, is involved. And if you can, go to the hospital. I know we don't really recommend it, but, you know, check out the environment. Go to a hospital, go look on the unit, go ask, say, oh, are you a unit clerk? Why not? Right? People love to share things that they love. So they would probably be happy to be like, yeah, who are you? Just say, I'm looking into taking the program. And people love that. So that's what I suggest people do if they're thinking about it. I also have people, like I said, a stepping stone. So maybe they're thinking about nursing, but nursing is such a big commitment, right? And it's like, well, I don't know if I want to be around patients. I don't know if I want to be in that environment. So I don't really want to commit to 4 years. So this is a great stepping stone. Get on the unit, take this program, find out if you like it. You'll be working very closely with patients and nurses. So you will find out very quickly if nursing is something you want to go to next. And I think that's the joy. We can have many careers. We can have many, different things we can do. I have lots of students that are going into nursing after. So it's a stepping stone. It's a career chosen. I've been a unit clerk for many, many years. I became a supervisor. I went into education. I've taken different programs to, give myself more education throughout the years. So it can grow into something you never even thought. And I think that's what's great about healthcare. It's always changing and it's always learning. You will never know everything. So if you're thinking about it and you like learning, you like change, you won't be bored. You will find it really fascinating and interesting work and rewarding.
That sounds like a great advice. Tina, is there anything else you'd like to say that we haven't covered yet? I know we went through a lot of aspects of it, but yeah.
I can't think of anything else. I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the questions that we have here. Yeah, from the audience, feel free to put your questions on the chat box if you got any. In the meantime, while we receive any, Tina, can you tell us what challenges did you face when you first started working as a unit clerk, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I think challenges in the beginning, it's learning who everyone is. When you come into a unit and you're new and you're a casual and you're a new grad, you don't know anybody. You don't know really, what to do. Hopefully you have a really good trainer and a mentor and but I think the challenge for me was learning who everybody was. And that could be in any workplace, but I find in the hospital environment, there's a lot of people coming and going. So for me, it was hard to keep track of who was who. So I would make notes in my book of people I met. So I would write the names down and I would make sure that I remembered. Thankfully, people have name tags and IDs, so you would able to remember that way. But I like to make a point of remembering people and their names and introducing myself. So it really helps the vibe of your shift when you're on too, if you actually took the initiative to introduce yourself. It shows people that you care and you're there and you're committed.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds more like how you described it earlier, like just caring goes a long way.
Yeah.
We have a question here from the audience. How hard it is to find a unit clerk job? Well, you already mentioned it a little bit, but would you like to elaborate on this one?
I don't think it's hard at all. I think that when I look at the job career pages for the health authorities quite a bit, and there is always a need for unit clerk jobs. So if you want to get a job, you will. I think the only thing that we haven't touched on that probably should is the typing test. So there is a requirement to get a job as a unit clerk, and it's 40 words per minute, and you will be tested and you will be tested for medical terminology as well. So that is something that you need to consider when you're in your program. And that is something I do talk about with my students about practicing your typing, making sure you're minimum 40 words, and really knowing that it's important because there's nothing worse, and I say this quite a bit, completing your program and getting an interview and they say, great, let's get you tested, and you don't pass. You don't want to put yourself in that position. So definitely do the prerequisites needed. It's important.
And I guess that complement, well, yeah, continue with the next question that I had for you, which was, do you have any essential tips for learning, online learning specifically, that would help students succeed in this program, besides what you mentioned about learning the prerequisite of the program?
Online learning is something that it's easy for some and it's really challenging for others. So online learning is the teaching environment that I've done the most of. So I have a lot of experience with online teaching, and I've taken courses myself with online learning, asynchronous formatting, so meaning no live classes. So you really need to be organized. You really need to have good time management. And when I said in the beginning there of what expectations I have, the commitment. So you need to be committed. You need to organize your week, understand what is, you know, the outcomes, learning outcomes that are needed for that week each day, and stay on it. Don't get behind, and communicate with your instructor always. If you're having something that happened and you're having some roadblocks of your schedule, communicate with your instructor. I think we can always work around and figure things out. If I have a committed student and they really want to succeed and they're doing their part, we can get through any obstacles.
That's great to hear. Tina, just like the last question, can you share a quick inspiring story of a student or a colleague who found success in the career path? Well, you already told us about you, which it was very nice to hear. But yeah, just so we can inspire more people that are interested in this career path.
Yeah, I have lots of, good outcomes. I I actually have students emailing me all the time about their success. They will email me and tell me, "Thank you so much, Tina. I just got hired at, Children's or BC Cancer or Abbotsford Hospital." So I hear it all the time, and it's great. I don't have one in particular story because I have so many. I don't have anybody emailing me and saying, "Please help me, I can't find a job." I usually have people asking me for advice, or interview advice, which I'm happy to do. And I've given references for my students as well because I have spent time with them. I understand and built that relationship with them. So I actually become like friends with my students per se because they will let me know their successes. So to inspire others listening, it's just take the chance, believe in yourself, be committed, give yourself that gift of education, and believe that you deserve it. And you know what? With such a supportive school like Ashton and the instructors, like I'm just one of many in the program. We're all the same. We all really care about the success for the student. So I think I think it's just, yeah, take the leap. And if you really want to get into healthcare, this is a great avenue to start.
Thank you, Tina. Yeah, I know I mentioned that that was the last question, but we have other two on the group chat. One of them asked, is this a program certificate recognized across Canada? In what situation do we have to show up in person, if at all, graduation, certain tests, etc.? Uh, what will you say about that?
So the first question was, is it recognized across Canada? So healthcare in Canada is each province. So I explain this in my classes, our government, our ministry, it gives money to each province for healthcare. So each province does their own thing. So when people are hiring for unit clerks and education, we have to ensure that that province will recognize our certificate. And I haven't heard that they don't. If anything, I've heard that they will accept it. They may want a detailed transcript to know exactly what was in your program, what you learned, how many hours, etc. But I have never heard that it not being accepted. But you would definitely have to check each province, each facility, and find out what they require. And the second part of your question was talking about graduation.
Yeah, it was in what situation do we have to show up in person, if at all? yeah, maybe graduation, certain tests, etc. Kind of like
The
that.
graduation of the Ashton College Unit Clerk program.
I guess what they're trying to ask is in their journey learning, is there any step that they need to actually do in person? And
No, you don't have to attend in person. I think there is ceremony for the Unit Clerk program, and depending on, I guess, the time of year or whatever is going on, I'm not sure. I've heard of in-person ceremony and I've heard of a Zoom online ceremony. So depending on what the school chooses to do at that time, that's something I wouldn't have a say in, but definitely we do have a ceremony. And if you can't go in person or don't want to, you don't have to. You can still get your certificate. Yeah.
thank you, Tina. For the last question, we have in here that there is an in-person practicum component in this area. Also, we have an online ceremony, and the only in-person component is the practicum.
Practicum experience, yeah.
Yes. So I guess that's about it, Tina. I appreciate you being here so much. And like I told you, yeah, I even got motivated about everything you mentioned. So thank you for sharing your insight and experience with us today. It's always inspiring for future students to hear directly from from our instructor, especially with someone with such an extensive experience in the healthcare field, such as you. For those who'd like to learn more about the Unit Clerk Certificate or are ready to take next steps, you can scan the QR code that will appear on your screen shortly or visit ashtoncollege.ca. Again, Tina, thank you so much for being in here. The chat was lovely, and I hope we can chat again more about this incredible field.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me.
Thank you. For everyone who joined today, thank you so much. We hope you found this session helpful, and we look forward to seeing you in the future in this lovely Ashton College program. Thank you so much.